Shalom and salam and peace. I'm Rabbi Arthur Waskow. I'm director of the Shalom Center, and I want to share with you some thoughts about this couple of weeks that we're coming up toward Passover. For me, the date in the Western calendar, April 4th, is a very powerful date. April 4th is the day on which Martin Luther King was murdered. 1 year before that, exactly 1 year before, he gave the most important and the most basic and the most profound speech of his life at Riverside Church, speaking to the group then called Clergy and Laymen Concerned About Vietnam. And he not only spoke out against the Vietnam War, he spoke out about the deep demonic dangers to American society that he said were militarism, racism, and materialism, especially poverty, but also materialism consuming the energies and focus of our people, our society, our culture. And then, 1 year later, he was murdered, and 1 year after that, on the first anniversary of his death, the third night of Passover in 1969, I was able to help write and then help create an actual Seder, a Passover Seder, that honored him and honored the freedom struggles of Black America, as well as the ancient freedom struggles of the ancient Israelites from Pharaoh, modern Jews from the struggle in Warsaw against the Nazis, and the struggles of many peoples for freedom. That Haggadah, that Seder, broke open the notion that the Haggadah was a given that our generation couldn't renew or transform. And in fact, in the 40-some years since then, the Haggadah, the Passover Seder, has become a rich unfolding of freedom for many Jews and for many other people as well as Jews. 2 years ago, in honor of the 40th anniversary of the original Freedom Seder, the Shalom Center created an interfaith Seder for the Earth, a celebration of a new form of planetary community against the stubborn, the arrogant, the top-down power, especially of big oil and big coal and big banking, against the not only human beings, but all the life forms of our planet. Through what some people call global warming, I call global scorching, because it's much too dangerous to be known by this kind of comforting word, warming, the climate crisis that we're in the midst of. This year, on April 4th, a wide spectrum, a wide alliance of American citizenry around labor unions, around environmental groups, women's groups, people who care about the independent voices of PBS and NPR, people who care about Planned Parenthood, a wide variety of people who care about the medical insurance, Medicaid and Medicare and Social Security, are coming together on April 4th to protest against a new, top-down, arrogant, corporate pharaoh, many institutions joining to squash the best energies of American society, and indeed, as well, of the planet, trying to cripple the Environmental Protection Agency, trying to undermine and damage Social Security and Medicare, and the new the new effort to provide health care for everybody, trying to smash organized labor and its unions, which arose in the first place in order to try to protect workers against the arrogant power of some corporations. In fact, looking back on the Exodus, Moses, as he has been called already more than 50 years ago, was the organizer of Brickmakers Union Number 1, a union of public workers. They were all working for Pharaoh. They were all working for the government. And their working conditions were terrible until, in fact, they organized to resist the power of this Pharaoh who was ready to work them to death, literally. So, again, this year, there are being gatherings of people April 4th, and we look forward to Passover, to Holy Week, to Palm Sunday, which began as a demonstration of Jews living in and near Jerusalem, led by a radical rabbi from the Galilee, whose name was Jesus or Yeshua, to oppose the Roman Empire in its local capital in Jerusalem. And then through the Holy Week, those Jews who chose to become what ended up being called, more than a century later, Christianity, alongside those Jews who created what we now call rabbinic Judaism, a new kind of Judaism, different from biblical Judaism, but also committed to oppose and win freedom in the face of the Roman Caesar, the Roman Empire, just as the ancient Israelites had won freedom from Pharaoh. The rabbis understood you had to win freedom in a new way. It wasn't the same as against Pharaoh. But they created the Seder that celebrated freedom in a new way. And in our own lives, we need to be remaking Passover and what it's about, just as they remade Passover and what it was about as they faced Rome. So we need to remake Passover and what it's about today. So I hope you will check out the website of the Shalom Center at www.theshalomcenter.org for several ways of enriching and inspiring, lifting your own Passover. One is the Seder for the Earth that I mentioned, and there is a guide to it on our website. One is a whole series of reports on the pharaohs of today. Who are the pharaohs of today? The companies, the global corporations of big oil, big coal, big banking, the military corporate complex. How do we deal with them? What are they doing? How are they using their power? How have they accumulated their wealth? And how are they using their power through that wealth to overwhelm American elections, for example, with the authorization of the Supreme Court that corporations can act like individual human beings at election time and nobody can control what they spend in elections? How are they buying members of Congress, of the Senate, to vote to reduce the taxes on the ultra wealthy and to increase the pressures on the poor, on workers, on the middle class? That's all in that report on who are the pharaohs of today. There's also a book that I've written together with Rabbi Phyllis Berman called Freedom Journeys, the tale of Exodus and wilderness across millennia, down to the present, across millennia. And you can get access to that book as well by going to the Shalom Center's website. Again, www.theshalomcenter.org. So I hope that all that will help you lift up a Passover of fuller freedom, a Passover that points toward deeper and fuller freedom for not only Americans, but the whole world and all the life forms of this planet as well that are now in deep danger. That's what Passover needs to be about in our own generation. And I hope you will join us in celebrating it that way. Be well, Shalom, and as we move toward Passover, toward Holy Week, have a blessed coming of Earth Day as well on April 22nd, and a blessed celebration of freedom for human beings and the earth.